Paul Blanch, who has been an expert witness for the state of New York about Indian Point.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What came out an hour ago says Fukushima 1, level 7 disaster. The Japanese Agency for Nuclear and Industrial Safety recommended that the country's government raise the level of radiation hazard at the nuclear plant Fukushima 1 to the 7th level. That is very, very significant. I believe that 3 Mile Island was a level 5 with respect to radiation releases. There's never been a 6. There has been a 7, and that 7 is Chernobyl. Again, we all know the information that we're receiving is sometimes inaccurate. I'm just reading from what I got on the internet just a few minutes ago. But this accident is much, much worse than anyone within the industry, including myself, could have ever envisioned. A little bit about my personal background. I'm a nuclear safety advocate. I'm not anti-nuke. I have 45 years of nuclear experience in the design, maintenance, and operation of nuclear power plants. I have been an expert witness in nuclear litigation related to Indian Point, Seabrook, Vermont Yankee, Pilgrim, Davis-Besse, and other nuclear-related litigation. I'm a registered professional engineer, United States Navy submarine operator and instructor. I testified before the United States Senate. Last Wednesday, I testified before the Vermont Senate, or Massachusetts Senate, legislature, and last year before the Vermont legislature. And through Congressman Markey, I've initiated a General Accountability Office investigation into the susceptibility of the failure of buried pipes, especially at Indian Point, but it also applies to every aging plant. We have vital pipes that are aging away, rotting away, and given a seismic event or some other event, these vital pipes fail. The accident at Fukushima was basically caused, well, initiated by, of course, the earthquake and the tsunami, and as I said earlier, tsunami's not going to hit Indian Point. But what happened, the initiating event at any of these plants, is a loss of AC power. If we don't have power, AC power or DC power, which is what happened at Fukushima, for example, at Indian Point, which is typical of many pressurized water reactors throughout the country, we will commence core damage within 4 to 8 hours. Without power, we cannot get cooling water to these plants. In contrast to Navy plants, they can go forever without AC power, but our light water reactors, pressurized and boiling water reactors, cannot avoid core damage, cannot avoid core meltdown without AC power to power the pumps to inject the cooling water. We've heard a lot of discussions on the TV shows by my friend Dave Lockbaum and many other experts in this field about the danger of spent fuel. At the hearings last Wednesday before the Massachusetts legislature, and Indian Point is not different from that, I just don't have the exact figures. The spent fuel pool at Pilgrim was designed to hold 800 fuel assemblies. That's about 1.5 reactor cores. Because of political reasons and economical reasons, they've had to expand that particular spent fuel pool to 3,801 spent fuel elements. To put that into perspective, the most fuel elements in any spent fuel pool of Fukushima was about 700. I believe Indian Point has somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 spent fuel elements. Everyone says they're spent. However, they might be spent with respect to iodine-131, but as was mentioned before, they still contain an enormous amount of cesium. A spent fuel pool event, meltdown, whatever causes it, and it could also be caused by earthquake or loss of power, could conceivably release more cesium-137 than was released at Chernobyl and certainly 3 Mile Island, which wasn't that much. As I said before, the tsunami is not an entity. I agree with them. Tsunami is not going to come up the Hudson River 45 feet and wipe out Indian Point. But the real problem is there an event that is going to cause a loss of power at Indian Point? We heard Richard Brodsky, who and many of the other people in this room worry about fire and fire protection and exemptions. And any fire in a nuclear plant can cause a complete loss of AC power. The NRC has been remiss. They have very, very clear regulations that they are not enforcing due to economic reasons, because if they enforce them, they would shut down most of the nuclear power plants in the country, and that's the last thing the NRC wants to do, is shut down any nuclear power plants. But we also have other events, such as earthquakes, which were previously discussed, that could cause loss of AC power. We have hurricanes, we have tornadoes, we have floods, we have the possibility of terrorist attacks. And if anyone thinks that there's adequate protection from a terrorist attack, I have slides on my little computer here where I circled in a private plane Indian Point last June 15th, and I got legally within 1,000 feet of the Indian Point plant without setting off any alarms or anything like that. So the NRC tells you that we're protected from a terrorist attack, question them. Other issues that have been brought up in our litigation at Vermont Yankee, Pilgrim, Seabrook, Indian Point, is the failure of non-qualified electrical cables. And my degree is in electrical engineering, but I have a lot of experience in nuclear also. All the cables, the vital cables that were installed at all these plants, including Indian Point, were designed for dry service. If anyone has any electrical background, we know that electricity and water don't mix. All these cables that we thought would remain dry forever because they're in plastic conduits sealed, almost every one of them is leaking. These cables are submerged. We've brought this issue and it's in clear violation of the NRC regulations, but again, the NRC will do nothing about it with respect to the operating plants, with respect to license renewal, other than to say it's okay, even though there's no way to test these. And this is another event that could cause a loss of AC power and cause meltdown at Indian Point. We've seen, obviously, many tritium leaks, and the NRC isn't telling everyone about how much tritium is leaking out of Indian Point. I don't know for sure, but I know millions of gallons of water have leaked out of corroded vital pipes a year ago, February. It was February 2009, that the NRC has conveniently kept from the general public. Most people aren't aware of the fact that we have gas transmission lines that go from Texas to New England, going right through the Indian Point site. 700 pounds of pressure and 30 inches in diameter, and two 26-inch lines. I'm going to cut it a little bit short, but I'll certainly be available a little bit later to ask questions, even though I do have a couple-hour drive to get back home. But Indian Point, in my mind, right now in this area, is not worth the risk that it presents to this population. Studies have shown hundreds of thousands of potential latent deaths. We know what the benefits are of the nuclear power. There may be some, but the risk, in my mind, is not worth it. We need evacuation plans, we need potassium iodide, and again, we need continued state review of the license renewal. This plant, as I say, is unsafe, and I used to work at Indian Point, by the way, didn't mention that, and in this particular area has no business to continue to operate. And with that, I'm being told I'm running out of time. I could talk for hours, and I thank you